In 2010, a young Harvard doctoral student penned a groundbreaking thesis on Kimberley, South Africa's legendary Diamond City. At its peak, Kimberley was not just the wealthiest city on Earth, it was a symbol of power, ambition, and the transformative force of natural resources. For educational purposes, let us revisit this magnificent chapter in history, a testament to South Africa's once unrivaled global stature. The story of Kimberley is more than a tale of riches. It is a window into an era when South Africa stood among the world's greatest nations. Now, Catherine Blake will read excerpts from this remarkable Harvard thesis, shedding light on the rise, glory, and enduring legacy of the Diamond City that shaped empires.
The untold story of how a dusty diamond town in South Africa lit up before the streets of the British Empire's capital. Kimberley, South Africa, became the greatest, swankiest, and richest spot on Earth. It was a world city of diamonds. In the late 19th century, there was no place on Earth like Kimberley. Forget Paris. Forget London. Forget New York, dusty and drab in their old gaslit gloom. For one blazing, immortal moment, Kimberley, South Africa was the crown jewel of the world. The richest, swankiest, most electrified patch of soil human civilization had ever seen. It wasn't just a town. It was a miracle, a cosmic accident where the universe had dropped its treasure chest into a forgotten African plateau, and the world had come sprinting for it. The streets buzzed with languages from every corner of the globe. Bankers brushed shoulders with fortune hunters. Kings and criminals slept under the same dazzling stars. From rough tents and muddy boots rose theaters, hotels, stock exchanges, steam engines, electric grids. Men made millions before lunch and lost them before nightfall. Diamonds flowed like rivers. Wagon loads of raw stones glittered under the unforgiving African sun, waiting to be weighed, judged, sold. Dealers, speculators, and dreamers swarmed the markets, their pockets bursting with wealth beyond imagination. Kimberley was not a city. It was a living, breathing phenomenon. At night, the city glowed, its streets humming with electric light long before London ever saw a spark. Carriages clattered down broad boulevards lit by bulbs instead of gas. The smell of cigar smoke and fine brandy floated from the gentlemen's clubs, where fortunes were wagered as casually as games of cards. This was a place where yesterday's shoemaker might be today's diamond tycoon and tomorrow's beggar. Kimberley was capitalism in its wildest, purest form. Brutal, intoxicating, magnificent. It was a stage where humanity's greed, genius, courage, and madness played out in full, in the raw, in the open. And for that shining, impossible moment, Kimberley was not just part of the world. It was the world. Let us rewind to 1947. Let us meet a young Princess Elizabeth, standing under the searing Kimberley sun, adjusting her white gloves as she gazes across the Earth's most famous wound, the Big Hole. She came as heir to the British throne. She expected to tour the empire's backyard. But what she encountered was something that did not fit the victimhood script. She saw a city that had lit its streets with electricity before, London, a city born not of charity or conquest, but of raw African ambition, cosmopolitan grit, and industrial fire. Here were engineers, blacksmiths, traders, diggers, African and foreign, who built something with bloodied hands and burning will. Imagine a place so rich that the dust sparkled, a place where the ground itself seemed drunk with diamonds, and every step you took was a gamble between fortune and oblivion. That place existed. It was Kimberley, South Africa. And for a time, it was the wildest, richest, most electric patch of Earth humanity had ever conjured. Forget the gold rushes. Forget the oil booms. They were mere whispers compared to the thunder that rolled out of Kimberley. In the savage furnace of the African sun, a city exploded from nothing, a roaring, chaotic cauldron of languages, races, fortunes, and fury. Money moved faster than horses. Diamonds were traded faster than bullets. Men aged a lifetime in a month. Every day was a festival of greed. Every night, a funeral of broken dreams. Here, a man might arrive with a pickaxe and leave with a mansion, or arrive with a dream and leave in a pine box. There were no kings here, only players, only those crazy enough to bet their lives against the earth, and sometimes win. Kimberley didn't wait for the future. It built it. While London still shivered under gaslight, Kimberley's boulevards blazed with electric light, shocking visitors into awe. It was a city of champagne breakfasts and pistol duels at dusk. A city where steam trains howled through the night, hauling mountains of rock and rivers of stone toward the global appetite for wealth. It was rough, it was ruthless, it was magnificent, and for that flash of time, before London polished its foggy streets, before New York climbed its steel towers, Kimberley stood alone at the pinnacle of human ambition, madness, and glory. It wasn't just the richest place on earth, it was the most alive place on earth. A fever dream carved into red dust, written in sweat and diamonds, and burned forever into history's bloodstream. Kimberley was not a place that had been done to. It was a place that had done. The diamonds that glittered in London's crown, they came from here. The wealth that built British museums and funded colonial expansion dug from this African soil. The railway networks, the industrial experiments, the stock exchanges, all seated in Kimberley's dust. And when Elizabeth toured its streets, she wasn't gazing at a tragedy. She was marveling at a triumph. African modernity before the African Union, African light before London glowed, African enterprise before the age of African excuses. So let us stop, please, with the addiction to victimhood. Kimberley proves what Africa was capable of before the slogans, before the grants, before the handouts, when men rose early, dug deep, and lit the night with their own sweat. If you want to see what Africa can be, don't look to Geneva. Look to Kimberley, the African city that lit up before London and asked no one's permission to do so. South Africa's true industrial birth was not in the ports or the government chambers. It was in the dust and in the diamonds, in the heart of a dry, barren plateau where only thornbush and dusty winds had once ruled. Kimberley erupted into existence. Before Johannesburg gleamed, before Pretoria applauded, before Cape Town boasted, Kimberley became. It was not built for beauty. It was built by hunger, a hunger for wealth, for ambition, for something larger than life itself. When rough, gleaming stones were first scratched from the soil in the 1860s and 1870s, it set off a madness unlike any South Africa had seen before. Men from every corner of the world, Britain, Germany, Australia, India, the Eastern Cape, swarmed too, the diggings like ants to a feast. Black, white, and every shade between them, they stood shoulder to shoulder in the blistering sun, gouging the earth deeper and deeper in their desperate quest for the sparkling heart of the land. Out of this chaos, order came. Kimberley against all odds became the first true industrial city in South Africa. Steel cables crisscrossed the monstrous big hole that the miners had torn open with bare hands and primitive tools, lowering and raising precious loads. Steam engines clattered, railways rattled, brickworks boomed, machine shops, banks, and telegraph offices blossomed overnight. And in 1882, something extraordinary happened. Before the mighty boulevards of London saw a single electric bulb, before the lamplit lanes of Paris turned into avenues of light, Kimberley became the first city in the southern hemisphere to install electric streetlights. Dust and diamonds had not only built a town, they had birthed a future. The shanties gave way to brick mansions, the pickaxes gave way to corporate empires. From the grimy hands of thousands of desperate diggers arose colossal fortunes. And new titans, Cecil Rhodes, Barney Barnado, and the unstoppable engine of De Beers Consolidated Mines. Kimberley was not merely an economic event, it was an industrial. Big Bang. The mining models, the labor contracts, the racial hierarchies, and the raw technological ambition pioneered there spread like wildfire. Johannesburg's gold rush later would copy its skeleton. The entire Witwatersrand would borrow its blueprints. South Africa's future, its riches, its railways, its wars, and its wounds were all seated in Kimberley's electric dust. If you want to know when South Africa stepped out of its pastoral past and into the feverish furnace of modernity, look not to the Cape, not to the Boer farms, not even to the British governors. Look to Kimberley, born of dust and diamonds, electrified before London itself, and forever stamped into the soul of South Africa. Even the British crown could not ignore the miracle that had erupted from South Africa's dry belly. In 1947, a young Princess Elizabeth, not yet queen, but already bearing the gaze of empire in her eyes, journeyed across the sun-drenched colonies of Africa with her parents, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. It was a royal tour meant to heal the empire's wounds after the war. But what she witnessed in Kimberley would leave a deeper impression than any formal parade. For Kimberley was no ordinary outpost. It was the land that had once lit its streets, before her own capital. A place born in dust and diamonds, but grown into a symbol of raw industrial might, human endurance, and colonial ambition. Here she marveled not just at the big hole, the gaping wound in the earth that had swallowed lives and spit out fortunes, but at what had been built around it, a city humming with life, order, and electricity. She saw the glimmering stones that had once funded her ancestors' palaces. She felt the pulse of a town that had dragged the future out of the soil with its bare hands. The visit wasn't just ceremonial, it was a pilgrimage, one that subtly acknowledged a profound truth. Before London switched on, Kimberley was already glowing.